Hey, it's been a while since I made one of these videos, huh?
Well, if you are one of the people who subscribed to me back when I was making videos about House of the Dragon, welcome back. In case you are not, welcome anyway. You might be wondering why I didn't make any videos about House of the Dragon Season 2 while it was airing, and why I'm only now making one after all this time. Well, it is because the season left me very disappointed and I genuinely didn't want to think about it anymore. But also because the show follows some of my worst fears about its future after watching the 9th episode of the first season, the Green Council episode. Characters constantly doing things that they wouldn't do or even think about doing. The world feeling much smaller due to the fact that characters can travel vast distances within one episode, even without dragons sometimes.
And some characters are literally just wasting theirs and everyone's time.
Yeah, we got a few good scenes, battles and moments, and one of the worst finales I have ever seen in my life. Yeah, this might actually be worse than season 8 of Game of Thrones. We are talking about fanfiction levels of bad writing here. Actually scratch that is an insult to fanfiction. Honestly, I was just done because I could see this sort of shit coming a mile away since season 1. That 9th episode, man. That episode was exactly what I feared the rest of season 2 would be. And again, there were some highlights this season, but the truth of the matter is, the writers of the show never respected their characters in the first place. They just pretended to do so they could please the fans and George R. R. Martin, who was working on the show at the time. But now, with him gone, and not even being there as an advisor in season 3, it's pretty clear that we'll be lucky if we don't get a fucking Alicent and Rhaenyra sex scene for the sake of fan service. Believe it or not, there are still a lot of Ritas out there who still ship these two.
Anyway, let's get to how the show disrespects its characters, starting with everyone's favorite, Alicent Hightower.
The very first video I made about House of the Dragon that got more views than anything else I had ever made on my channel was about Alicent Hightower, one of my favorite characters in the show that was completely ruined and pacified by the end of the season. And it just seemed like the writers were too afraid of having her do anything remotely morally questionable or selfish or ambitious, otherwise she might come off as a bit of a Cersei. God, you wouldn't want people to start thinking that women can be evil, would you? Ah yes, I remember all the comments in my original video defending the writing of season 1. Those aged like milk. The fact that so many people hate Rhaenyra and Alicent more than characters that are objectively morally worse like Aemond, Aegon and Daemon kinda shows how much they fucked up, doesn't it? I mean, the sheer sense of entitlement that these characters have, and the fact that they demand to be rewarded for their passivity while their narrative blames the men around them for everything bad that ever happens, is just so insulting to the audience. Like, take the scene where Alicent demands to become regent because Aegon is injured, and then has a panic attack because she was rejected. Why? I mean, why? You did nothing to earn that position. You always tell people no and that their plans suck, but then offer no better ideas or options in return. And technically speaking, it is your fault that Aegon decided to go and join the battle with Sunfire, because you pushed him towards it in a way. If it was for you, everyone would just sit around wasting their time every episode. And don't even get me started with Rhaenyra and how she demanded a son for a son in the season finale after the brutal murder of Jaehaerys.
The climax of that scene is Rhaenyra, I'm going to have to kill your son, and Alicent acceding to it.
I hate so much about the things that you choose to be.
Yeah, Rhaenyra, you're a real saint, aren't you? I can't wait for Sunfire to devour you whole. Of course, the other characters in the story are not treated much better. Daemon sitting on a rock perfectly represents his role this season. Aemon's character development is a bit of a mixed bag for me personally, and I might make a video about that. Helena is apparently okay with helping the man that murdered her own son, and gets over it pretty quickly. Because, you know, showing how the grief and anger of losing a child ruined her could make people think that Team Black isn't so nice after all. It all feels so messed up. Despite the fact that I can still see the production team were trying to make something better than the usual slop you'll find in services like Netflix or Disney+. Again, were there highlights this season? Sure, season 3 will probably have some good scenes too. but these are just technical aspects. I will not credit the writers with any of it. I mean, at the end of the day, the writers have no respect for the actual source material, with one of the main writers proudly declaring that they feel no loyalty to the original book or even world. The same writer who said,
There's so much in play. There are armies, there are dragons, there's castle strongholds and political maneuvering, but at the end of the day, it comes down to these two women trying to figure it out.
Why are you the way that you are?
what about the geography of this world? The other houses, the common people, the fucking prophecy you can stop reminding us of. These things are only there when it suits you. No, the whole world needs to bend to the willpower of these two women, because their main character plot armor is just that heavy. This breaks any form of realism or immersion for this fantasy world. As a result, the whole of Westeros just ends up feeling a lot less dynamic, a lot less alive, just like it did in the later season of Game of Thrones. And now it's just another generic fantasy world, where the main characters get to do whatever they want without really respecting the rules of the universe. The common people don't count, do they? Well, unless you want to show your audience how bad the Greens are, because then the public opinion is really important, huh? So, with all of this being said, how could Season 3 possibly save this show? Honestly, I think it's fucking impossible, especially considering they already had plans before the reaction of the fans. They actually thought that audiences would like this scene. These are the sort of people we have writing this show now. It's pretty clear that it took a huge amount of self-control for the writers to make something like the first 8 episodes of Season 1. And even then, I think they got lucky with that. They would need to retcon a lot of the character decisions they made last season, which would be pretty laughable and would require more episodes out of the season, which I think is impossible considering they are already having budget issues. Fuck, they haven't even probably introduced Daeron yet. This third season already has so much work to do. I'll still probably watch it and I might make a video or two about it, but let's face it, we all know how this story goes. Rhaenyra and Alicent will never do anything remotely wrong or questionable. All the bad shit that happens in King's Landing will be blamed on the incompetent, greedy and violent men around them. God forbid anything bad that happens in the Dragon Pit is Rhaenyra's fault. No, the masses are just so ignorant, bigoted and sexist. Look, I know this video has been more of a rant than an analysis or an explanation, but let's face it, this show doesn't deserve any better right now. I don't know if I'm the only one who keeps seeing this trend in modern media, but it's pretty much impossible nowadays to have female characters that choose to, be themselves. And besides, don't you think it's kinda sexist to depict women as incapable of creating their own character, making their own decisions and choices in life? Even though Westeros is a medieval society, it is also a fantasy medieval society. There have always been strong female characters in the world of Game of Thrones, like Visenya, Daenerys, Olenna and Margaery Tyrell, Ygritte. Now imagine if all of them had their agency taken away, with every single action they actually take being the result of some other character pushing them towards it, pulling their strings and making their choices for them. How would that feel? As the saying goes, we make our choices and our choices make us. But it is very difficult to get the real essence of a character that cannot make her or his own independent choices. It's a way of taking away accountability from the character for their bad actions and bad choices. But when they do something that's actually good, oh yeah, they are definitely in full control and ready to take the credit in those cases. It's just the bad choices that aren't really theirs. It's too convenient. And it really shows how the writer's bias influences their writing in the worst way possible. If you give certain main characters special treatment and privileges over other ones when it comes to making moral or immoral choices, for the sake of making them look more innocent, then all you do is create a resentment from the audience. Again, it is funny how people hate Alicent and Rhaenyra more than Daemon or Aegon. I hope I'm wrong about Season 3, and I hope it will deliver some amazing writing. Why am I kidding? The truth is, this is gonna suck. Maybe even worse than the last season. If it somehow happens that the next season of this show is actually good, then I'll make a video about how wrong I was. Until then, I hope I'll see you in my next video.